Hello. We'd like to go ahead and have you now take a look at our registration processes and continue on with the Office of Letters and Sciences Summer Orientation. One of the things that we know is that you may have participated in the university's orientation office's Canvas page, in which case you have received a significant amount of information already. Thus, we wanted to provide you with a brief overview. But in the event that you have not been able to sit down and thoroughly watch all of the information there, we of course wanted to make sure that you had some of the key pieces of information. So we'll be discussing Testudo and general registration rules, registration and course enrollment, scheduling, and course conflicts. So let's get started. Testudo is not only the university's mascot, but also where you can access interactive web services. On this particular page, we've highlighted several things with the understanding that certain services on Testudo are accessible 24 hours a day. However, there are also services that are only available during certain windows. And so you will want to make sure that you, in fact, review the window to see when those web services are, in fact, available. At the top of the screen, one of the things that you will see is schedule of classes that has been circled with red. If you want to get access to all the courses that we are offering in this given term or in subsequent terms, you can actually click on schedule of classes. Below that on the left-hand side, we've talked about how your email address and your physical address are important. So if you need to update any of your information at any point in time, this is where you can do it online. On the right-hand side, after you complete your registration processes with your academic advisor for orientation, you will easily be able to access your student schedule as well as be able to look at unofficial transcripts as well as do waitlist check-in on this particular page too. However, when you go to register with your academic advisor the day of your appointment, this is where you will actually click registration drop add off of this main screen so that you can progress to the next stage of registering for classes. So Testudo, let's take a look at Testudo. Your screen will appear very much so like this, where it will identify a course, the section, and then it'll also identify the term. You see here on this particular screen, we've identified Fall 2020 because we'll be registering for fall courses. However, if someone were interested in registering for summer courses, you would simply click the drop-down menu and then be able to find courses accordingly. On this screen, you also will see that if you wanted to isolate the courses for which you're looking for, you could click Open Sections Only. You also have the ability to identify if there are certain times or days, whether it's face-to-face that this course is meeting, whether it's blended or online. Those are all options that you can pursue. However, we encourage you to have the greatest results possible for your registration purposes, that you would not restrict yourself. Now, how do you locate general education courses? You will see on this other page that's appeared, there is a general education courses, the second tab from the left. And then once you click that, there are 4 different areas that will display: fundamental studies, distributive studies, diversity, and signature courses. If you were to select the link on each of those respective areas, then you'll be able to find courses that in fact are available in those respective areas. Again, that's how you locate our general education courses. But there's a couple of important things to keep in mind. With the registration process, when you're registering, you want to make sure that you're going to register for one course at a time. If you attempt to register for multiple courses, if one of the courses is available and the other one is not, you may not get any of those results returned. So again, we encourage you to make sure that you're registering for one course at a time. If you have not been active in the system, it will require you to log back in. And that's a simple process. You'll just simply log back into the registration drop-add screen and proceed from there. You will want to make sure that you do not use the back buttons. The back buttons actually will get you to a prior screen as opposed to perhaps deleting anything that you've put into the system already. And there are also buttons for navigation. We'll talk about the buttons for navigation in just a moment, because one of the questions that sometimes arises is, well, what happens if I actually haven't submitted my courses? Will they still be there? As long as you have in fact submitted the courses and indicated that you want those particular sections of classes, even being inactive in the system will not change what's on your schedule. With regards to course specifics, the university offers a host of different classes, and there are times where you will actually have a class that consists of a lecture and a discussion, and in some cases, maybe even a lab. The expectation that students will be attending all of the meeting times for their courses. So lecture, lab, and discussion, if those are all components for the course. There are also instances when you may not be eligible for certain sections or certain courses because there may be restrictions, and so you will want to pay careful attention to Testudo to ensure that you know what classes and what sections that you are eligible to take. And there will also be instances where under a course, it may say Perm Rec or permission required. So you want to pay careful attention to those classes. And if you do have questions, make sure that you ask your academic advisor who will be working with you. In some instances, there will be classes that are restricted to certain majors or a certain set of majors. And so for those cases, again, make sure that you read the fine notes on Testudo to ensure that you are registering for a course for which you have access. Course enrollment. We'll talk a little bit more about course enrollment in terms of adding courses and dropping courses. It's a pretty intuitive process. However, we want to make sure that you understand the ins and outs of Testudo. We'll also talk about waitlisting courses, as well as if there are times when there's a time conflict for a course. Do you have to actually map out exactly what course meets at this particular time and how those conflict with other times? We've taken care of that for you. Testudo already operates, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But as you are thinking about registering for classes, you'll also want to keep in mind about course location. Will I be able to make it to one building versus another? There are things that we have built into the university system that will, in fact, help you see if you can make it from one location to the next. And if you have questions, again, you'll want to work with your advisor that'll help you figure out whether it is, in fact, feasible. Full-time versus part-time. Again, those are things that we want to make sure that we have an awareness of. Do you intend on being a full-time student? Do you intend on being a part-time student? There are significant implications as well as financial implications should you be a full-time student on the first day and drop to part-time. Scheduling adjustment periods as well as additional fees may be incurred. And so there may be changes as a result of changing from full-time to part-time, as well as if you go from part-time to full-time. So again, make sure that you're in fact speaking with your academic advisor so we can ensure that you know what is expected. Each of the majors at the University of Maryland has identified a 4-year academic plan, and the advisors that you will work with will ensure that you in fact are pursuing that 4-year academic plan and that you have a sense of what the next set of courses are based on the courses that you're wanting to register for. But one of the important things is balance. Whether you actually will be commuting or living on campus, whatever may be happening, whether you're going to be participating in on-campus or off-campus activities, it's going to be very, very important that you, in fact, take all of those things into consideration as you're thinking about internship and research opportunities, because we, of course, want you to actually be at your best. Now, when you do go to log onto our system, there's something to keep in mind. We've got our university secure system. You will be utilizing your directory ID as well as your password, and you will have to make sure that you actually have your device so that you can verify with the multi-factor authentication process. You'll then transition into clicking the Fall 2020, and this will allow you to register for fall classes. Now, I mentioned previously that if you were interested in perhaps taking classes in the summer, whether it's summer 1 or summer 2 with us, this is also the place where, in fact, you are able to register for summer classes. And later on, should you be interested in registering for a winter term, you'll also be able to do that through the registration drop-add period. So course enrollment. How do you actually enter the course? So you will start with, there will be 4 letters and 3 digits. In this particular example, Psych 100 will be entered under the course, PSYC 100. There will be instances where some courses actually will have a suffix. So in this particular case, BMGT 289D. You will need to make sure that you insert that D for that particular course. It's important to be mindful that you do not place a space between the letters and the digits. Because if you do, the university system will recognize that this course does not exist, because English 101 with a space does not exist in our system, but English 101 does. Once you've identified the course, you do not need to enter the section because the open sections will automatically appear, and you will simply click Submit Changes. Once you've actually gone and added that, you will then be able to scroll down and see all of the available sections for that particular course for which you have entered. In this case, English 101. And then if you look on the right-hand side, Depending upon the number of sections, you may be able to scroll and then click select. Now, you will also be able to utilize the radio button to the left of the actual course to select the preferred section. And when you select that section, you will see that it's the course, the section, the number of seats that remains, the times when the class meets, as well as the instructor. Be very mindful that if you see a course that only has a certain number of seats, a limited number, then you'll want to go ahead and add that particular class. The reason is, it's much easier to add a class and then come back and decide I can make adjustments later and give the seat back, versus if the seat is no longer there, then you have no way of adding it. Now, there will be instances where you have actually added a course to your schedule and you may choose to, in fact, drop that course. If you look over to the far right-hand side on the screen, you will see that there are actions. You would then click drop. Certain notes will appear and you'll want to make sure that you read that note. Again, these notes are here to ensure that you, in fact, want to drop the course. It will also provide you with links to the course drop policies, if there's going to be any additional fees incurred, what have you. And then it's also going to prompt you, are you sure you want to drop this particular course? After you read that note, you are certain that you want to, in fact, drop that course, and you will click enter. There may be times where you, in fact, want to add a class. It's already full, but you really, really want to take that class. In that particular case, we have what's known as course waitlist. With the course waitlist, you, in fact, are able to identify the course for which you want to take, and that would be the course number, as well as the section. In this particular case, you must enter the section of the course. So in this example, Site 221 is the course, and the section is 0101. Again, you will be prompted to read the course notes, and then you will need to make sure that you, in fact, meet any course restrictions that apply. You'll then move forward and click confirm. And again, it will provide you with all of the different sections of this particular course for which you can waitlist. You may waitlist up to 6 sections of a course, but you must be mindful that you'll have to do waitlist check-in beginning the first day of classes. So between now and when you register for classes and the first day of classes, which is in late August, you don't have to do waitlist check-in. However, you are encouraged to ensure that you are checking to see where your position currently is on the waitlist. So when you go to add yourself to the waitlist, you will be able to see, click add to waitlist. You see the courses, you see the section, and then you are able to see the students on the waitlist before you. There may be courses for which you will also see a whole file. And again, if you are interested in the whole file, you'll want to speak with your academic advisor who can give you more information about that. On this screen, you also will see view schedule. And in just a moment, we will show you exactly how to view that schedule. Now, previously I'd mentioned that there is a time where you're wondering, do I have to map this out, get a sense of, are these classes conflicting with something that's already on my schedule? The university has devised a way for you to be able to see that. The grayed out sections of a course will actually represent that you cannot register for these particular sections because it conflicts with something already on your schedule. Now, it's important to be mindful that these are courses that, again, they conflict with something on your schedule, so you'll want to pick one of the other sections that, in fact, will work. So how do you know what your schedule looks like when you're done? You'll be able to view your schedule, which is from that button that we saw on the previous screen. And it is color-coded where you can see Econ meets at a certain time, English meets at a certain time. And again, you'll want to get a sense of, do these courses work and are you able to get from them from one point A to point B? On the left-hand side, you see that you have the registered courses, and on the right-hand side, you see that you have waitlisted courses. Again, while waitlist check-in begins on the first day of classes, you are strongly encouraged to go ahead and do waitlist check-in from time to time to see if you, in fact, have moved up on the waitlist. But it's also important to know that you cannot waitlist a course for which you are registered. So say that there's a class that meets at 8 o'clock in the morning. Those are the only seats that are available. But you really and truly want to take the time that meets at noon. Is it possible for you to go ahead and register for that 8 o'clock time and then to, in fact, come back and waitlist yourself for the noon time? It is not. So again, the university system does recognize that if you, in fact, are registered for a course, that you cannot also waitlist that particular course and you cannot have a conflict on your schedule. Now, what if there's a walking conflict? As we mentioned, there will be times where, in fact, you will want to know, can I feasibly make it from this place to the next place? On this particular example, what you will see is that there is a symbol, and what that represents is that there's not enough time to walk between classes. And so if, in fact, you were trying to go from the math building on campus to Van Munching Hall, you would soon discover that it's virtually impossible to get there within 10 minutes time. Thinking about leaving the classroom from one building, walking uphill, and then getting to the classroom in another building. Again, if you have questions with regards to, is this really feasible? Then you will want to check in with your academic advisor. So this does conclude our presentation with regards to registration. Again, it is an overview. You are encouraged to go back and review the Canvas site, which is hosted by the Orientation Office, if you have more specifics as it pertains to registration. On behalf of the Office of Letters and Sciences and the University of Maryland, congratulations on becoming a TERP. You can reach us in the Office of Letters and Sciences, where we're located in Hornbeck Library, and you can also contact us by email should you have additional questions at ltsc_welcome, WELCOME @umd.edu. There is no better time to be a TERP. Welcome to Maryland.